Okay, let's start. My name is Gregor Pipan, and I'm responsible for marketing here at CGS Labs. It's a pleasure to welcome you to this webinar, where we will be exploring the latest versions of our software, CGS Labs Civil Solutions 2025.1. We are very excited to share the new features, enhancements, and improvements that have been designed to make your work even more efficient and precise. So let's start. First, before we begin, here are some important technical information about today's webinar. The session is being recorded, as we promised, and the recording will be shared with you afterward. You are also welcome to ask questions at any time during the webinar. So for this purpose, there's a section Q&A in the webinar dashboard where you can type in the questions. And we will try to address as many of them as possible during the Q&A session, which will be at the end of the webinar. And now let me introduce our presenters for today. With us are my colleagues, Klemen Ozimek, Petra Tihole, and Jan Cunja. They're all our dedicated product managers for Plateia, Ferrovia, and Aquaterra. And each of them will guide you through the latest features and enhancements in their areas of expertise, and they will provide valuable insights in how CGS Labs Solutions can support your design projects. So without further ado, I suggest that we dive in their presentations. Klemen, please go ahead.
Thank you, Gregor. So I will just make myself a presenter here. So first of all, welcome to the webinar. Today we will go over the enhancement and changes that we made for the newest version that just released. So hopefully you can see my screen.
Yes, it's okay.
In my part, I will go over all the common things that we improved. So this is for all the products, Plateia, Ferrovia, and Aquaterra. And then Jan and Petra will talk about more for Ferrovia and AutoSign. So first of all, just to mention this, we have now supported the new BricsCAD version, so we support version 25, and we also support all of these versions that you can see on the screen, so also the latest Civil or AutoCAD version. So let's go right into the enhancement that we made. So the first big thing that we included in this release is the rescale function for the longitudinal profile, so for the profile view. Here are some different options that are available to the user. So users can define any X and Y scale for the profiles, and they can rescale actually different elements within the profile view. So for all of these improvements that we will see today, we will also make a live presentation. So I will go into the BricsCAD. And we will check out how this works. So first of all, I have a longitudinal profile here in BricsCAD 25. And if we go to the Profile Ribbon tab, we have a new function or a new command here under the Draw Profile View to rescale it. So once we open it, it will actually read the scale of the active profile view, so for the active alignment, and you will see it here. And then you can change to any number you wish. So let's say we want to make it larger, so twice the length of existing profile, and this will actually save all the or store all the data that you have in the profile view and then just reinsert it. So actually you don't have any limitations here. So you could actually also use like 1-to-1 ratio, which means that 1 meter in real life will be 1 unit in CAT. So you can actually set it as you want. And then if you look at it, we have actually different options here underneath. So the scale function actually works for all the graphical elements in the profile view and also for the rubric. So all the data that is within the rubrics will be scaled or moved to the right position. But then with the additional settings, we also have an option to scale user elements. So this means any polyline or any circles, blocks, hatches, or different things that maybe the user draws in the profile view. So for example, something like this. And it's not created by the CGS commands or in Plateia or Ferrovia or Aquaterra. So this doesn't include any information that this is a Plateia profile view, but we have added this option so that you can also scale this kind of elements. So this will actually check all the elements that are within the graphical part of the longitudinal profile and scale them. So if we check this, let's say we want to make it back to 1000, we will say scale user elements and click OK. So this again will save all the data and redraw it in the newer scale. So you can see that also the user element was changed. So here we have 2 additional settings. So we also have an option to resize user blocks or to resize user text. So once you want to maybe enlarge the profile view, you maybe also want to make the texts more visible or make them bigger or something like that. So that is what this is. So we will check this, and then also we have an option to scale the rubric size. So this means that all the rubrics beneath the profile view will also be enlarged or get smaller based on the change of the scale. So maybe let's do one more thing. So let's check also the other options. So we can also maybe fill out some data here that we are missing. So maybe we can use the label slopes command to draw the slopes. Then we can maybe do the ditches, so left and right ditch, for example, something like that. Just to give us some more information here. So something like that maybe. Then we can also draw maybe the pipes and the manholes. So for example, I will use the pipe, the diameter 300. And I will also maybe draw the main holes. And maybe also label all of these things in the rubrics part. So as you can see underneath, all of that is labeled. Then we can also maybe do the road edges. So in the newest version, we also fixed how this works. So now it's actually doing all the curves and all the labeling within the rubrics. And now we can also label or rescale this to some other scale, for example. So we can change only the horizontal scale, or we can change the vertical scale, or both at the same time. So let's check the other 2 options that we have here. So resize user text and blocks. So let's presume that we have kind of a bridge here. So I will just label it in like an easy way here, maybe something like that. And I will use text element. So let's do bridge here. And maybe we can make it a bit bigger so that we can see. And then also maybe we can also use multi-line text, so M text. And let's say here we go from the P14 sample line or cross section to P19. And I will just move this justification to the maybe top center here and make it a bit bigger. Okay. So now when we use this command, so if we don't use the scale user elements, this means that this will not be taken into account for rescaling. And as you can see, this is not changed. So if you have any other elements that were drawn but are not for this profile view, then this should not be used. But if you're drawing in the profile view, then you need to check this option. So with resize user text, this will actually check how much the scale is changing. So in this case, this will be twice as large. So also the text will be twice as big. So let's do that. And here you have to be careful that the user elements are always like changed according to the insertion point. So here you can see that before it was 1 text height and now it's 2. Then it's the same thing with the user blocks. So let's see how this works. So I have 2 blocks prepared here that I will copy into my drawing. So this is just a quick representation of a bridge, for example. So this is a block reference for a block, and we can also maybe copy this junction. Maybe you have a block with a name or with the height, with some kind of information that you also use it for profile view. So for example, something like that we label here is a junction, for example. So once we use rescale, we have to check the scale user elements so that this bridge and junction will be moved to their correct position. Okay, let's do that. So as you can see, now this block was moved, but it's not the correct size. So it's not according to the scale. So for that, we will use that other option to resize user blocks. So let's do that. So now as you can see, the distance is okay. And also you can see that the scale of the block will change. So this was, as you can see, lengthened, so the X scale was changed. But here in this block, you can see that also the X scale was changed, but not the Y, so it's like distorted. So in this kind of situation, or in this kind of blocks that include text or some kind of information, it's better to have them scale uniformly. So what we can do here is go into the block edit of this block, and we can say that we want to change this to scale uniformly. So we click yes and save block. So now once we rescale this will not be distorted anymore, but it will be twice as big according to the resizing. So as you can see, now this is scaled 2 times in each direction, but we can also make it smaller like that. So this is for the blocks. Now we can also change the rubrics height. So these are all predefined in the current table. So if we check this, we can see that all of these rubrics have their own height defined. So we could go and maybe change all of those by hand, like to be twice as big or twice as small. But we can also use this option here that we have. So let's do scale rubrics height. So this means that if we change the X scale to be twice as big, also the rubric height will be twice as big. So this is only for the rubric height, but not the content within. So this is also something that will be probably in the next version. But for now, this is only for the height of the rubrics. For the content, you need to change in the settings or use some other commands here. So yeah, this is it for the rescale function. This is also available in the menus. So if you will look for them, all of those are in the 31D5 or similar commands in Ferrovia and Aquaterra. Okay, then I will move on from the rescale function to the erase individual sample lines. So we have added a new option or a new way to delete the sample lines. So what this means that you can actually check which sample lines you want to delete from the dialog window, and then also all other sample lines will be automatically renumbered. So let's see how this works. Let me open DVG. So here we have a horizontal alignment with no sample lines. Let's create some of them. So we will use 2 different prefixes here. So I will use here maybe in this first part from P1 to something, so to P11, and then maybe just to for the other section we will use A prefix. And here I will also include one more sample line, so this sample line through point, and I will check here and I will give it a fixed name. So this is not automatically numbered, so I will use P12 here just to have this other option. So now when you delete this kind of information, so maybe let's also refresh the profiles or the profile view with the current information, and also maybe create cross sections. So let's do that. And then you want to maybe delete one of the sample lines here. So until now you only had an option to delete by hand, so you could interactively choose it and delete it. But as you can see, all the other sample lines were not affected by this. So P8 is still a P8 number, P10 is still a P10. So with this other option, so we go to the array sample lines command, and maybe we select only one, so we select P5. So once this is selected, you can also use Ctrl or Shift to choose another sample lines from the list. But once you delete it, all other sample lines that have the same prefix will also be renumbered. So this will not change the fixed names, or this will not change the other numbering that you have maybe. Yeah, you will not have to renumber them with some other command. So once you do that, you need to refresh the profile to change to the current status. So maybe we can also refresh the cross sections, and this will actually delete all the sample lines that we deleted. So this is just another way of how to delete individual sample lines. If you want to delete all of them, you had this command already before. Now you just have to and press enter one more time, because the default all of them are selected, and this will delete all of them. Okay, then the next thing is the widening site option and centerline. So this is Plateia specific only. So we have added an option to choose the widening site, but only for the sum of the versions that we have. We have also added a draw centerline option, which draws the centerline between the first left lane and the first right lane, and this is available for all of the versions. So let's see it. So here we have a horizontal alignment, and if we use calculate expansions and draw lanes, here we can see that we have some new options, some new buttons here. So the widening site here, as you can see, automatic calculation calculated that for the two lorries combination we need a widening of 0.6, and we can move this on either side. So on the inner side like before, but you can also choose the outer side of the curves or the both sides. So it splits the widening value to the left and to the right. So if we look into the technical specifications for different countries, we can see that we can put the widening side on inner side as before on both sides, or in some exceptions on the outer sides. And also the center line is also drawn in the middle of the widening of the lanes. So here we have Slovenian specification, some Bosnian specification, which is actually quite the same, and then maybe the Serbian specifications, which they only have it on the inner side of the curves, but they also have like this center line of the widening. So in this case that I have here, you can see that it changes a little here. So let's see both sides or the inner side. So this actually just moves it a bit, so 0.3 meters to either side. So if you use the inner side and then we also click the draw centerline option, you will get a new line here, which is on separate layer, which can then be used for, I don't know, maybe using the side design options or commands to draw the line markings or stuff like that. So you could do it something like this. Okay, then let's move on. We go to the 3D Polyline Editor. So we have made quite a bit improvements here. So this command is available in the side design module. So let's see what we have added here. Okay. So I will just create like a polyline. So this is more of like a common tool, which you can use for various different things, like finding the position of pipes or something like that, where you need to drape something on the surface. So I will go to the side design ribbon tab, which is also available in the common ribbon tab here. And if I click Polyline Editor and select this polyline, this is now only a 2D polyline, which I want to change it to a 3D polyline. So how do I do this? By using the right click, we get some options here. So we have added an option to delete polyline, to reverse it, to reverse the direction. But we also have already an option here to tessellate and to convert to 3D and to drape this on the surface. So let's go to tessellation options. And as you know, we don't have any arcs in 3D, so arcs are only possible to draw in 2D plane. So we need to segment those arcs for the 3D polylines. So we can do this with using this command here. So we actually defined the distance between the arc and the polyline, 3D polyline. So let's check this. So I will use 1 meter and convert this to 3D polyline. And as you can see, this was segmented and we have quite a bit of like distance between the original line and the newly created 3D polyline. So maybe for this example, I will use like smaller value here. So maybe let's do 5 centimeters or even less. So as you can see, it's a bit more correct now. Okay, now that we have a 3D polyline, so maybe in this case I will just make it a little bit bigger. In this case, we have added an option to also like do this for multiple lines at the same time. So let's do that. Okay, so I will use all of those 2D polylines. So now you have an option to select multiple and convert them to 3D polylines. So we have new polylines and we can filter out only the 3D ones. And here we can also drape them. So we will select all of them and we will raise them to the surface elevation. So we have two options here to move all the vertices on a polyline, but also an option to add vertices where we break the 3D face or all of those points. So maybe let's use that. we can use any surface, so civil, BricsCAD, or CGS surface, or 3D faces. And here we have now all the 3D polylines, which all of them have their own elevation. So as you can see, they are quite different in elevation. And we can use maybe some other options that are available now. If we select multiple points or multiple vertices, we can actually raise or lower that, so we can make it like 1 meter beneath the surface or something like that. And we can also interpolate heights. So if we say that, I don't know, this is on 150 elevation, and this is maybe on 200, that we can actually select. So it will use the first and the last point, and it will interpolate all the points in between. So this can be quite useful in some cases. We also added an option to delete points, so you have this option here. And yeah, that's about it. So another actually great tool to use. Then we can move on. So let's move to the cross sections. So with the macro command, you can now save all the macro definitions for all the cross sections. So before you could only save one cross section at a time, but now you can check all of those at the same time and play them also. So let's see this in action. So here I have a nine cross sections with their own macro definitions, so all the elements and the hatches and stuff like that. And then there are some that are a bit different, so they have a block for I don't know, the street light or something like that. We can also add some new one, for example, only on this cross section. So I will just use another block here. Maybe something like this. And I will align it so with the element that I'm selecting. So maybe something like this. And now I want to change this. So I want to maybe save it and maybe use those cross sections in another drawing or something like that, or I need to fix something. I can actually transfer this information in one go, in one document or in one file. So now you can use the save macro command, and here in the command line you can see that you have an option to select point in the cross section or use enter to save all of them. So I will use enter, and I will define some new document here, and I will click OK. So if I use last file command, I can see that all the definitions that are within the cross sections are then stored in this Lisp file. So as you can see, these are CGS commands within the cross sections, and they can be different between each cross section. So I can then make another file or another drawing with the cross sections and play this macro. So I have it here, only the terrain and the roadway, which can be done by also saving from this file or from plan view. And then I will use play options, play macro, and I just need to check the new list file, and you can see all the profile names. So you could actually use only the definition of one of the cross sections, but you can also check this mark, and this will check if the name of the cross section and the name in the definition is matching, and it will play on that. So let's do that. So this takes a bit of time to go over everything, but it's a lot faster than doing it one by one. So as you can see, we also have all those individual blocks that were different than other cross sections. So this is just another option for the user. And then we have some more like smaller improvements that we made for this version. So one of that is the planimetric quantities, like dialog window. So now you have a color preview, so it's a bit easier to see what kind of color you have defined for the planimetric quantities. So before it only said color 31, color 30. Now you have a preview, and you can also now sort the planimetry quantities. So what this means is that if we go into the drawing and we use this edit material, now we have an option to check the column, and it will sort out all the rows. So another thing that this affects is actually if we change this and click OK, it will also change list for the other functions. So for example, if you go into the planimetry command, it will change how this is in order. So for example, if I go from the last name to the first and go to the pavement command, you will see it in that order. So maybe it's a bit easier when you're searching, because previously they were sorted by when they were created. So the last ones were always on the last. So it was a bit harder to see and select. So if you want to have them sorted by the name, you just select the name, and this will also affect this list. Okay, then another smaller improvement was in the TCS element manager. So let's check that. So what we have added here is that we now have an alphabetical sorting of all entities within this dialog window. We have added the stationing, so it's more information for the user. And we also added other elements here. So not only the TCS elements, but also the planimetry quantities, dimensions, and intersection lines, as it is with the delete command. And also the dialog window doesn't close anymore with the escape button. So if you look in this drawing, so I have added some dimensioning, the intersection points, and stuff like that. And if we use this TCS element manager, we can go to each cross section and check where we have these elements. So as you can see, now they are sorted alphabetically, so it's easier to search, and you can also check other elements here. So it's the same thing if you want to maybe check for all the cross sections. So we can go to the other tree view, and here when we select maybe this base, you can see it in all cross sections highlighted. So you can actually quite more easily see where you have, I don't know, maybe this embankment or something like that. Okay, and then we can move on. So we also made some major fixes for this version. So maybe these are what I would say major. So we have fixed the draw road edges command. So this was an issue in the previous versions, and we have also improved it. So for example, in this case, if I can show you, I will just define some profile line and maybe quickly calculate some super elevations. Now you have this 31M, so label road edges, which also works when you don't have any cross sections or any sample lines. So before this wasn't an option, and as you can see, also all the curvature is applied here. So for the labeling part, it will label all the main elements, but if you have sample lines, it will label on the sample lines. So this was one of the fixes. We had some issues also with the super elevations table in the previous version, so 25.0. And we have also added the last section or the last station that was missing also in the previous versions, if you didn't have any other information here. So if you had already the existing super elevations or the cross sections data, then this would show, but not in other cases. Then we have also made some other fixes with the cross sections of how refreshing works and how the drawing works. So a lot of things were done, but these are only the main ones. If you want to check all of them, you should check the release notes that we have online, which includes all the information or all the changes that we have made for these versions or the previous one. So now I would hand over the presentation to Jan, and he will continue with AutoSign.
Yes, hello. So just give me a moment. Okay, I hope you see the screen. And yeah, so hello everyone. I will show you new features in the AutoSign software. Okay. Besides some fixes, there were 3 enhancements that were made. And let's just start with the first one. We have added the foundation dimension to the post height. So if you see the video, in the post and foundation settings, where you can set the post height, you can also set the foundation height, and we have set it to 70 centimeters in this case. And then you insert the sign and you draw the report. And now you can see that the height of the post above the ground is 2.9 meters, and the total height is 3.6 meters because the 70 centimeters of the foundation height was added here. So some clients requested this total height of the sign post, and we have added this. Secondly, if you notice that temp suffix in the name of some signs, you will be pleased to hear that it is now removed. So some sign names doesn't include the suffix anymore if they're inserted in the drawing. And thirdly, options to manage visibility of the sign attributes have been added. And this functions works like this. So when you edit the sign, you can select now the visibility of the attributes, and the attributes are then shown, and you can also deselect some, and you will still get those attributes that you want. And you can also add your own commentary to these attributes. We're planning to improve this function, so the user will be able to edit the attributes of all the signs in the drawing at once with some global settings. Okay, and we have also added a new library to the AutoSign. It is the library made according to the Safer to School guidelines, which aim to improve road safety for school children. And additionally, we have added Romanian traffic signs. We have updated the Romanian traffic sign library according to the new legislation. So actually, from my side, this is everything, and I'm handing the presentation to Petra.
Okay, thank you, Jan. Okay. A warm welcome from me as well, and thank you for joining us in such a great number. So in his introduction, Clement already showcased several new tools and functionalities developed for all our software solutions. So to quickly recap, these are rescale, erase sample lines, polyline editor, macro saving options, and typical cross-section manager. And this means that these commands are also available in the Ferrovia program. So now I will continue by focusing on some additional major new features that are specific to the Ferrovia program. And after that, I will introduce some new tutorials and videos that are available for all CGS Labs products. So these materials are free to access on our website and are designed to help you in your daily work. At CGS Labs, we are always working to add more free content, so please stay with us until the end, and I will show you where to find these resources. So two major new functionalities that are just in Ferrovia program are the option to add auxiliary vertical lines in the railway profile and the command for calculating thickness. Additionally, there are some changes in table settings at the vertex of the tangent polygon in layout, and another update is the refresh layout, which now updates the count in table at the vertex of the tangent polygon. I won't be demonstrating this last feature directly today, as it's more of improvements where we have reduced the number of steps in refresh process, but you can read more about it in our What's New document. So the first feature I will present provides with visual assistance when designing the profile of railway. So the software will automatically draw auxiliary vertical lines at a user-defined distance before the beginning and after the end of the vertical curve. So, okay, how does this feature help design? So railway regulations often require that vertical curves maintain a minimum distance from specific elements such as turnouts, crossing, expansions, devices, and other a similar critical infrastructure. And for instance, both Slovenia and most European standards mandate that the start or end of vertical curve must be at least 5 meters away from elements I mentioned before. So this new feature automatically places auxiliary vertical lines in the profile view, simplifying the verification process for compliance with these requirements. So here's one example. If the user sets a 5 meter distance, the software will place two auxiliary lines, one 5 meters, just a second. So one here, 5 meters before on the start of the vertical curve, and the second one here at the 5 meters after the end. It gives us an instant visual reference, so designers can quickly check that there is enough clearance around critical infrastructure, and the best part is that those lines adjust automatically if the profile is modified. So I will now switch to the Ferrovia so we can see directly how this new feature works. So I will zoom into the profile view. Okay, and here you can see, here is my one vertical curve. Okay, and I will add those auxiliary vertical lines. So I click label settings. So here under the profile view, I have a command label settings. And here I have an option, auxiliary vertical lines. Okay, I will check this option, and by default the value is 5 meters. If you want, you can also change this to another value. I click OK, and then I press enter just to define that, to position the tangent labels at the same place as before. And you can see that two red vertical lines are inserted in the drawing. So the first one is here, 5 meters before the start of the vertical curve, and the second is 5 meters after the end. Okay, and if I want, I can now extend this polyline. Okay, this is my count, for example. Here you can see that I'm in this, and this is the in this area that the count value is growing here. So here I have the spiral in the layout. And you can check, okay, I'm in this restricted area where I'm limited by what elements I'm using. So let's say that, okay, this is not okay. I want to move my profile view a little bit to the left. So I will go to the move profile, change a little bit, okay. And you will see that those auxiliary vertical lines are updated automatically. So it's much easier for the users that they don't have to draw those lines manually, and then after that checking if they are compliant with the standard. And if you don't like, so for example, that you finish with the profile and you want to print it and you don't want to show those lines anymore, you can just click label settings, uncheck this option and click OK. And other way is just to hide the layer on which those vertical lines are drawn. Then the second major improvement, basically a new command in Ferrovia, is calculate thickness. So this functionality has been available in Plateia for quite some time, and now it's also part of the Ferrovia program. So we added it because many of our clients ask for it. So the calculate thickness command, this is a small icon next to the label settings, is designed to calculate the elevation differences between the terrain and the railway center line, as well as the terrain and the left and right rail. So since my current table does not have a row or rubric for delta H, so if I zoom to the rubric's name, and if we will go through all the names, you will see that there is no delta H. So I have to first I have to add this rubric. Okay, so here at the edit current table, okay, under the Ferrovia, I can find delta H, okay, and I will add it here on the top of the our table of the profile view. Click OK, and you can see that this rubric is now inserted here. And now I will just run this new command, calculate thickness. Okay. On the top, you select the layout drawing. So right now I have everything in this current drawing, so I can leave it as it is. And then I select the unit. Okay, I have 3 different options. So how I want that my values will be calculated and then also inserted in the rubric in the table. And also if I want, they can also be exported to external file. Okay, then the second is option to tabulate delta H along the left and right rails. If I do not check this option, then only elevation differences between center line and terrain will be calculated. But if I check this option, also the elevation differences between left and right rail and terrain will be calculated and inserted. And then I have an option to export all those information, all those elevation differences to delta H file. And if I click on the folder, I can save it somewhere on my computer. Okay, but right now I will just insert it in the drawing. Okay, and you can see that now those elevation differences are inserted, and I can also zoom in to see those values. If I go back to my presentation, okay, here on the left side, you can also see this external file. So if you want, you can also output those information, so you can create an external file with those elevation differences. And then the third upgrade in Ferrovia can be found in the axis settings for the layout. So previously there was an option to set parameters in the table at the vertex of the tangent polygon, allowing users to specify whether elements such as line, frame, and data within the table would be drawn or not. However, since these settings were not functioning correctly, we have adjusted them. So now users can only define whether the line to the table will be drawn or not. So for example, here you can see this was previously. Right now, we have those settings, so you can define if this line to this table will be drawn or not. But how you can change, edit this table, you can find in our new tutorial on our help center, where we explain all the instruction and different options how you can change these tables. And then, so these were some of the major updates in Ferrovia, and you can find all updates, including smaller upgrades, in our What's New document. And now I will just quickly show you where to find free tutorials and trainings for all our software solutions. So in general, we have a lot of different platforms where we offer free content to our users. So on our Help Center, which you can access directly from our website, you can find different tutorials for all our products. So some of them come with PDF instructions, while others also include videos. And you can also watch any of our past webinars for free, and some additional videos are also available on our YouTube channel. Then we also have a blog where we upload articles on topics like SBIM and different reference stories. And at this point, I would like to express our gratitude to everyone who took the time this year to help us prepare reference stories. So thank you very much. It really means a lot to us to be able to showcase the successful projects of our clients. So we reach the end of today's webinar. I would like to thank you for your attention, and my coworker Gregor will now briefly let us know if there were any additional questions.
No, at the moment I don't see any. I suggest that if some questions should arise after our webinar, that you just send us an email. You can do that either on any mails to my colleagues or send it to our support team. I would like to thank you again for joining us today, and we all hope that this information that was shared with you will improve your daily work. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye.